worst place for it to break out in, that would be the place you'd release it.
Well, there's not much to know.
In early December, people in Wuhan begin falling ill with a mystery virus.
Mystery virus.
First infections in Wuhan started in early December, and I believe the first case in December the 1st. When a new infectious disease appears, it does take a little time to register and become aware that it's new. So there were people presenting with a form of pneumonia.
Local doctors suspect the virus originated in the city's seafood and wildlife market.
So we think the virus probably originated from bats because that's what the genetic data tell us, but often there's an intermediary animal host. In this case, they think pangolins might be implicated, which are a mammal, and that intermediary animal host might have been at the markets. We don't think that it's from eating those things specifically, like through the gastrointestinal tract, but more from handling them, from touching the contaminated meat. So somewhere in that market, we believe there must have been a contaminated animal source that infected the first cluster of humans.
In late December, as the number of cases increases, doctors in Wuhan begin sharing information in a private chat group.
Well before any of us knew about the coronavirus, there were people who tried to sound the alarm. So there were a group of whistleblowers who'd heard that there was this virus cluster, and they started speaking about it. Now, in particular, there was one doctor, Li Wenliang. He posted on a chat group with his former university classmates that people had been coming in with what he thought was the SARS virus.
7 SARS cases were confirmed in the Huanan seafood market. The main mode of transmission of the virus is droplet transmission at close range, or contact with respiratory secretions of patients. This can cause a special pneumonia that is evidently contagious and capable of affecting multiple organ systems. It is also called SARS. The patients were isolated in the emergency department of a hospital. Everyone, please be careful. That's scary. SARS is back.
The outbreak revived the spectre of SARS, another type of coronavirus, which killed 774 people in 2002 and 2003.
The reason why they would have been so concerned at the prospect is this was SARS was threefold. First of all, SARS was super infectious. Second, it had a relatively high mortality rate of 10%. And third, a large number of healthcare workers actually died from SARS because of the complexity with stopping transmission. And I think that was the real concern.
On the same day as Dr. Li's warning, the Wuhan Health Commission sends an urgent internal notice to hospitals on the treatment of pneumonia of unknown cause.
Some medical institutions in our city have seen patients steadily with pneumonia of unknown cause. If you find patients with unexplained pneumonia, actively adjust the resources and treat them on the spot.
The notice warns them to keep the outbreak quiet.
Without authorization, no units or individuals shall release treatment-related information to the outside. I have no doubt that local governments have reported the situation to the central government. So local governments were not accountable to the people at that time, but to the central government. They adopted the policy of concealing the truth from the public, but starting to control the epidemic internally. This contradiction prevented them from properly mobilizing to deal with the spread of the epidemic.
Dr. Li and the other doctors continue to share information.
Be careful. The WeChat group of our class has been banned. The latest news is the coronavirus infection has been confirmed, and virus classification is in progress. Please don't spread the word and ask your family and loved ones to take precautions.
Do not go to the Huanan seafood market in the near future. So when this group of doctors, I think they were university classmates from Wuhan, began sharing the information they had about a strange new virus on this sort of joint WeChat group, they were doing what you'd expect medical professions to do, to try and sort of pool information and see what was actually happening. But of course, that's a kind of dangerous thing to do in China. I think there's little doubt right now that local officials in Wuhan did withhold information. They've admitted as much. The doctors in Wuhan who were talking about it were explicitly told to shut up.
Cool, thank you.
Dr. Li and his colleagues are hauled in for questioning by Wuhan police.
After investigation and verification by the public security organs, 8 offenders have been summoned and handled according to law. The police will investigate and punish with zero tolerance those illegal acts that fabricate and spread rumors and disrupt social order.
Dr. Li was disciplined by his own hospital. He was even picked up by the police and taken in and castigated and told not to spread rumours. This is what happens when you are saying things publicly that the Communist Party doesn't like. You're spreading rumours. Even if somebody is trying to tell the world about a potentially dangerous virus, the first instinct is to shut them up.
Despite the risk of retribution, critics like Dr. Wu Cheng, who already lost his university job for defying a ban by President Xi on teaching democracy, continue to speak out over the government's handling of the crisis.
They were basically concealing the truth. Although internal controls were in place, the information kept from the public caused the outbreak of the disaster and the spread of the disease.
That's the key point in this saga. They lost about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, just when the virus was at its sort of nascent point, just at a time where they could have traced it, just at a time where perhaps they could have checked it more substantially, but that was lost because it got caught up in the politics of the information flow and information surveillance in China.
4 weeks after the first infections, China notifies the World Health Organization of the outbreak.
Oh, hello.
Things are about to get worse. In early January, millions of Chinese are preparing to travel to and from Wuhan to celebrate Chinese New Year with their families.
If you were to pick the most dangerous time, the worst time for a virus to break out here, the worst time for it to spread quickly across China and even around the world, it would be the Lunar New Year. You have hundreds of millions of people crisscrossing China, travelling overseas, and because of that mass migration, the largest mass migration annually in the world, it was just a terrible time for this virus outbreak to happen.
Australian resident Ying Wang, who lives in Melbourne, is preparing to visit Wuhan with her husband and 2 children when she hears about the outbreak.
It was a couple of days after our Christmas holiday in Melbourne. I got a video sent over from my cousin in Wuhan, and according to the video, there was suspected SARS-like pneumonia.
Let's go!
And
Easy
I asked my
max,
cousin,
baby.
should I